Hey everyone, welcome to another macro photography video. So today, as you can see, I'm photographing in a slightly different way using my phone and a clip-on macro lens. And I'll talk a little bit more about the specifics of the equipment after, but for now to do a quick intro, thought it would be fun to do some mobile macro photography and talk about some of the technique, some of the challenges, and I've come out to my local forest to look for some mushrooms, because that's the season it is right now. Not as many insects around anymore, and I want slightly bigger subjects for mobile macro, so I thought looking for mushrooms and fungi would be a fun challenge. Also haven't done any fungus photography for a while, so yeah, let's just get right into it and see what I can find. Alright, so to get started, let's just briefly talk about equipment for mobile macro photography. And along with your phone, obviously, a lot of phones do have a built-in macro photography, macro mode, which, while it can get you quite close up, usually this is just cropping into the ultra-wide camera, which can often focus quite close, and these macro modes just don't give particularly good image quality usually, and you won't have very much background separation at all. Just not great results. So usually you want some kind of clip-on macro lens to clip onto additionally to your phone camera. There's all sorts of different options. The one that I've been using for around 3 years is this, which is the 100mm mobile macro from Apexel, which is great. It's nice and small and portable and clips on easily. Doesn't have the highest magnification, but you've got really nice background separation, good detail, good image quality. But today, along with that one, I've got two others. The first of which is this, which is actually optically, it's the same lens, but it's just a different mounting system. Also from Apexel, it's the 100mm with a ring light mount. And this is just a slightly more sturdy mount, and you've got this handy ring light if you want some additional light to the natural light that you've got. And as well as that, I've also got this, which is a fairly new clip-on mobile macro lens from Apexel as well, which is the zoom macro lens, which allows you to have basically just change focus, have different magnifications. For full transparency, Apexel have sent me both of these, and they are the sponsor of this video, so thank you very much to Apexel for that. And this is more of just a showcase of how to use these, the different use cases, and macro photography more generally than a specific review of either of these. However, I will talk more about both of them later on in the video. For now though, let's just get right into it, and I'll see if I can find a few more mushrooms to photograph and talk about for the video. So I found a cool first subject, which is one of my very favorite mushroom species, an amethyst deceiver, which is also just a great name. And this one is in a nice spot that I can get quite a low angle and maybe have a nice background with the sky in the background, have some bokeh, show off that these lenses can get some quite nice bokeh as well. And I'm using the one with the fill light setup, the 100mm for this, because I want to shoot against the sky, and otherwise it would be quite backlit. So then I can turn on this light and then shoot from below like this. Turn the screen upside down, and then I've got a very nice background with the screen. I'm using the Lightroom mobile app. Again, I'll talk more about why afterwards, but let me just take this shot because that's quite a nice little frame. I think that this picture shows one of the things that's worth keeping in mind about the 100mm macro lens, which is that on some phones, and on my phone at least, which is the Pixel 7a, it does have a bit of vignetting, which means that the corners are a bit dark and there's some more artifacts there, more chromatic aberrations, which you can see in this picture in the top left. There's some chromatic aberrations. It's not really a big deal though. I could have just zoomed in slightly, and otherwise I really like the rendering from this lens. It has very smooth transitions from in focus to out of focus, and very nice bokeh in the background, and you've got nice shallow depth of field, which is otherwise quite difficult to get with a phone. And I kind of like that it's at lower magnification, because it's nice for things like flowers or mushrooms like this. it just gives quite a nice look. So I really like using this one. I haven't had that much of a chance to experiment with the light, and the one thing with this light, again, it's more of a thing of taste. This ring light means that you're getting light from all sides, which means that it has a little bit more of a flat effect. For something like the fill light for the amethyst deceiver just now, it's no problem, but if this is your only light source, it has a certain look to it, a bit more flat look to it, which I personally don't like as much, but the light is really nice to have for getting ID images and documentation images of smaller insects and stuff, and this does have enough magnification. I tend to actually just carry this lens around with me in my bag every day, and then if I find something even on my way to school, I can get quite a good identification image of it just with my phone and this lens, and the light is great for that. Nice thing is, obviously, you don't have to use the light, so for certain situations, I just won't use it if I don't like the look of it, and I do really like this lens. The mount is quite nice. It's a bit easier to get into place than with the previous clip-on mount, and it's quite sturdy. So yeah, I really like this one. For me, it's more of I carry it around kind of every day for getting identification images, but it can get some really nice results as well, as you'll hopefully see later in the video if I can find anything else. Okay, next up I can talk briefly about the zoom macro lens here. This one was quite new to me. I was a bit familiar with the one with the ring light setup because I've used the same exact lens, the 100mm lens, for a few years, so it was just the mount that was new. But this is an entirely new lens, and it's honestly a little bit different than what I was expecting. It's quite large, but what that does mean is that I can clip it onto my phone. There's no vignetting whatsoever, which means I can use my phone without zooming in, which means I get the best image quality, and this lens is also very, very sharp. So I've got good sharpness all the way through to the corners of the picture. And what's also nice is that it gives quite a wide angle perspective, which does mean that if you go to the higher magnifications on it, has this focus ring on it, which basically just allows you to go to higher or lower magnifications and focus closer or further, which is a nice feature, but at the highest magnifications, you're focusing pretty much right in front of the lens, which makes it very difficult to get lighting in place. At the lower magnifications, though, it's still enough working distance that it's possible, and I quite like the kind of wide angle perspective on it. It gives a nice context into images while still having nice bokeh, nice backgrounds. And I've used this in a few situations already, and one really cool example is this large group of lime seed bugs that I saw. I wanted to use this zoom macro to get a few more of them in a shot at a wide angle while still being quite close up, and I got a few shots of these that I really like. And overall, this zoom macro lens I like more for the wide angle macro effect, not for the highest magnifications. And in contrast to the one with the ring light, maybe not as good for getting ID shots of the smallest things, but instead it's something I might even have with me if I'm out on a photo walk with my camera, because if I find a mushroom, a bigger insect, and want a wider angle shot, I think that's quite a nice feature of this. And that's what I'm going to try and find right now. Maybe I can find a bigger mushroom to get a wide angle shot and have some more habitat of the forest showing. One thing that's important to think about when you're shooting mobile macro photography is what camera app you're using on your phone. And often the default camera app on the phone will work just fine. A lot of phone manufacturers have what's called a pro mode of some sort to use, which will usually give you manual settings control, manual focus control, and sometimes even allow you to shoot in RAW, which is good if you want to edit anything later. On my phone, I don't have manual focus control in the phone's default camera app, so I use Lightroom Mobile, which means it has a built-in camera app and I can have manual settings control, manual focus, which is important for me because I don't really like using autofocus with these lenses, and it also allows me to shoot in RAW. So I'm just going to start a screen recording of Lightroom Mobile, then I can show you I've found some Pixie Cup lichens here as an example. And I'm just going to shoot at a low angle. You can see here I've got manual focus control. I'm focusing further back because I want a little bit less magnification. I'm going to zoom in a little bit for this frame, but I quite like how that's looking with the background, and I'll just take a shot like that. Another thing that having manual focus as an option enables me to do is actually focus stack, which might seem a little bit crazy with a phone, but it's not that difficult, and I find using manual focus gives me more consistent results on a phone than push stacking, which I would normally do on my camera. So just to show you as an example, I'm going to start recording my screen again, and I found this cool mushroom right here, and I'm just going to go here. You can see I'm in manual focus. I'm going to move to the furthest back point I want, and then start by focusing at the front, take a shot, and then change the focus slightly, take another shot, and so on all the way through. And while doing so, I'm just keeping my phone as steady as I possibly can. So I'm slowly going through it. Maybe I'm taking slightly too big focus steps for some of these, but I think it should be fine. And I'm getting near the back, and now I've got all of the pictures for my focus stack. Alright, so that was a fun little photo walk, trying out some different mobile macro photography techniques, and I think I got some photos that I'm actually quite happy with. Thanks again to Apexel for sponsoring this video and for sending over the two lenses for me to use. If you do want to buy any of their mobile clip-on lenses, you can do so through the affiliate link in my description of this video, and that would support me and the channel a little bit, so I'd be very thankful if you did that. And yeah, I think that's all for now. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe picked up some tips for mobile macro photography. And to finish this off, I'll just show a few more photos that I've taken using these lenses, since I've been using them for a couple of weeks already now before I filmed this video.